So it's a pleasure for me to introduce our keynote speaker for this morning, Paul Elsley, past president of the Rotary Club of Kingston. Paul had a career teaching high school in Trinity College in Port Hope, and when he retired in 2011, he relocated to Kingston. And after some conversations with his father-in-law, who was a member of the Rotary Club of Peterborough, Paul joined the Rotary Club of Kingston in District 7040. While staying at home to raise their two daughters, Madigan and Darian, he was also active in Kingston, starting Isthmus, a charitable organization whose purpose is to feed hungry children and students on the weekends. Paul also volunteers with the Community Foundation of Kingston and area, as well as the Lauren Scholarship Foundation. On the Rotary side, he was co-chair of the Kingston Centennial Committee and has recently become a member of the District Membership Committee, the District Training Committee, and is also an assistant governor for the Seaway West clubs. Paul is here today to share with you how his club was able to show some impressive member growth during the pandemic. So Paul, it's all yours.
Great, thanks very much for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be with you folks here today. And I'll just get my presentation set up here. Here we go. You'll see the title of my talk is From Challenge to Opportunity, Silver Linings in the Pandemic. And I must say that there have been a large number of what I would call silver linings and opportunities that have all led to significant membership growth. And I'll start with the punchline. Over the past 18 months, our club, which had declined in membership for 20 years in succession, has added, again, 18 months, the last 18 months, we've added 27 new members. We had dipped below 60 in our membership, first time in club's history, having been at a high of 140. And we've managed to reclaim and just added our 8th new member of this Rotary year on Thursday, and have some more in the pipeline. So lots of interesting things going on by way of membership. We're one of the top 5% of all clubs in North America for growth, not surprisingly with those numbers. And we even added a Rotaract club in the middle of the pandemic. So here you can see us, for those of you who don't know quite where Kingston is. We're a member of District 7040. And it's a very interesting district because we have in our membership Eastern Ontario, Western Quebec, upstate New York, and the territory of Nunavut as well in our district. So a number of different cultures and different languages, and it makes it very interesting. Our club was chartered just over 100 years ago in 1921, and last year was our centennial. I will say a few words about our centennial because I think it's directly connected to membership growth. We are currently sitting at 80 members as of this past Thursday, and in addition to that, we have 24 honorary members. And I was especially pleased during my presidential year that we were able to grow the female number of female members in our club. And so we moved from 32% up to 39% as a result of the growth. It's still a work in progress, but I think it's part of the diversity, equity, and inclusion mandate. So I won't say much about this, other than to say that I'm also the district RILA chair, and we're ramping up our RILA for this coming year. In fact, some of your students have participated over the last 2 years in our RILA. I know that a number of districts did not hold RILAs. We certainly did online, and it's our plan to have it in person at the end of May at RKY Camp, which we helped found about 80 years ago. So here we are back in March of 2020, hunkering down out of an abundance of caution and not sure where this thing was headed. And a couple of years before that, we had been busily and excitedly preparing for our centennial, which was going to start in July of 2020. We wanted to celebrate our centennial for a full Rotary year. And so we had been planning to do so and had everything in place, had clubs involved, more than one club involved, because we reached out to the other Kingston clubs to celebrate with us. But of course, when the pandemic hit, we had to pivot, and I think everybody did at that point in time. Because of my work with my charity, Feeding Kids on the Weekend, it became very clear to me very, very quickly that we had to pivot because the needs in our community were so significant. There were mental health issues, food security issues, businesses were struggling, governments weren't sure what to do, and the city in particular was desperate for help in a variety of ways. And so I think it became clear to us that service organizations like Rotary were needed now more than ever. And so we had to rally to that, to the cause. So our pandemic pivot also, I think, impacted membership growth. That is to say, by getting involved in our community in a significant way throughout the pandemic, our profile in Kingston has been raised substantially. And it's brought a number of folks to us by way of new members. So we began, first of all, focusing on food security. The schools all closed. And I'm not sure how familiar you are with this, but child poverty is a very large issue in Ontario. And I'm sure in your region as it is in mine. And when the schools closed, so many kids who were being fed in the schools, and when I say fed, I'm talking breakfast, lunch, and a snack every day, lost that resource. So what was to be done? The food sharing project, whose warehouse you see here, was responsible for feeding the kids in the schools, and they closed their doors. That was the mandate coming from food sharing project and their partner organizations. And so what we quickly did was figure out a way to bypass the schools and deliver food directly to homes. And it couldn't have happened without a large-scale volunteer effort from Rotarians and significant fundraising that was launched by Rotarians as well. And so with the help of some of our partner organizations like the Food Sharing Project, the school boards, Lionhearts, which is a food rescue organization here in the city, we were able to reach out to families, to phone them directly, to pack in the Food Sharing Project warehouse and deliver hampers like the ones you see, the banana boxes filled with wonderful foods to each of these homes. And at its peak, we were feeding 550 families and approximately 1,500 children every other week. And we did that for 18 months straight, and it's still going on. Beyond that, we got involved in mass production because these families were telling us they didn't have masks, they didn't have the disposable income to go out and buy a bunch of masks for the kids in particular. And so we started out getting a group of volunteers, some seamstresses, as well as some other folks who were prepared to purchase the materials for them, and produce a whole bunch of masks. And one of our silver linings was that there were other clubs who reached out to us when they heard we were producing masks and said, we'd like some of your Rotary masks. Can we get them? And then we're prepared to offer you donations of $10 per mask. So we ended up raising $7,000 and producing thousands of masks that have gone out into the community and other communities. Because we were doing this and we got a fair amount of very good press in Kingston, both on television and through the Whig, which is our local newspaper, we started to get community organizations reaching out to us when they saw what we were doing. And so public health reached out to us and said, we're about to embark on mass vaccinations and set up clinics, but we don't have sufficient volunteers. Would you be prepared to lead the volunteer effort? And so we've got somewhere in the neighborhood, I think between all of the clubs, between 60 and 70 Rotarians who are regularly volunteering for that effort. And that's still ongoing. Then the Chamber of Commerce reached out to us and said, we need volunteers to help get rapid test kits out to businesses. And so we were the lead organization with respect to rapid test kit distribution. And most recently, we've been asked to be on the steering committee to establish a community food warehouse here in Kingston, which is going to serve all of the food giving organizations. Beyond that, we were invited to be one of the members of the the mayor's task force during the pandemic, and I am also on the food giving organization, Food Emergency Task Force. So we've gotten very heavily involved in the community because of the pandemic. And we ended up raising about $160,000 to make all of these things happen. And the pivot, as I say, was a very fast one. We got started on the food security in April of 2020, and we just haven't looked back. That said, we still had a centennial to celebrate. And while there was no appetite to celebrate at the beginning of the pandemic, there have been points in time, of course, throughout where things were a little more under control. And so we got back to our centennial. And as I say, we had been planning for 3 years to celebrate. And one of the things that we did, and I think this is something to keep in mind, we established some strategic goals for our centennial. The first thing we did was to reach out to the other clubs in Kingston, and there are 4 Rotary clubs and 2 Rotaract clubs in Kingston, and said, although it's our club's 100th birthday, we want to celebrate 100 years of Rotary in Kingston. And so we reached out to them and said, we would like you to join with us in this celebration. We'd like you to be involved in all facets of it. And they all said yes. And so enhancing collaboration amongst the clubs and our other community partners was a strategic goal. In addition, we wanted to expand the profile of Rotary in Kingston. There are a lot of misconceptions about Rotarians and Rotary and who can join and what we do in the community. We wanted to dispel those myths and make it very clear what Rotary was all about. We had to raise a tremendous amount of money, and that was not going to be an easy thing to do in the middle of a pandemic. We decided to have more than one project per month, and so our centennial involved 15 projects and 5 events over the course of that 1 year. And of course, we wanted to increase membership in all of our clubs, not just our club, but the other clubs too. So very quickly, we established a President's Council, I guess now almost 2 years ago. And that President's Council involves all of the Seaway West clubs. And so we meet monthly in order to better communicate amongst the clubs, to support each other in our endeavors. We also established a number of joint committees here in Kingston. So we've got a membership committee, youth services. In addition to the President's Council, we now have a communications committee that involves all of the Kingston clubs. And again, coordinating our efforts is a big thing. We wanted to improve communication by establishing a central portal for people to find out about Rotary in Kingston. So if you go to www.rotaryinkingston.cool, you'll find our website. On there is some information about each of the clubs, some general information about Rotary, how to get involved in Rotary, how to join if you're so interested, and so on. And then we wanted to strengthen our existing community partnerships and develop some new ones. So collaboration was a big part of our centennial strategic plan. In terms of fundraising, those 15 projects and other events were going to cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000, which was a very ambitious number to hit. But it's funny, once everybody, one of the things about it, having so many different projects was that it struck a chord with everybody. At least one of the projects did. And so we had no trouble finding people to get behind those projects, both in terms of fundraising, but the execution of those projects as well. One of the projects, interestingly, it was a global grant that's based right here in Kingston and affiliated with Pathways to Education. We wanted to seek out new areas for financial support. We lost our gala. We were hoping to raise $100,000. We couldn't hold a golf tournament, which would raise probably in the neighborhood of $15,000. So we had to seek out new areas for financial support. And so we have reached out to a number of foundations, the Community Foundation, the Anna and Edward Churchill Foundation. And those foundations provided us with significant funds to help undertake these centennial projects. And so it's a good way to leverage funding. We all know about leveraging funding through Rotary, but there are other organizations, other foundations that exist out there for which you can leverage some of your funds for your various projects. And then here's another silver lining. We found that some of our existing fundraisers did better than ever before. One of those is a cash calendar we produce. And typically we would raise in the neighborhood of $15,000 to $18,000. Well, during the centennial, believe it or not, we raised almost $30,000 from the sale of cash calendars. So if you look at some of your existing fundraisers in perhaps a new way or with new emphasis, you might find that you do better than you have been done in past years. And then I was very pleased with the generous support we received from Rotarians in general and Friends of Rotary. I think everybody wanted to help with the pandemic in some fashion. And while they may not have gone out and, boots on the ground kind of activities, they were prepared to write checks. And so we had any number of folks that wrote checks, including 40 Rotarians who committed to $1,000 each in the 3 years leading up to the centennial. And so we were able to hit our target and raised about $550,000. Expanding the profile of Rotary in Kingston and dispelling some of those myths was a key strategic goal as well. One of the first things we did was to invest $10,000 in the marketing of Rotary in Kingston. We produced a series of 1-minute videos, and I'd be happy to share those with you at some point in time, along with some other resources that I've got. And those 1-minute videos were regularly broadcast on television stations here in Kingston and over social media. And so we were able to get out lots of messages through those channels that highlighted what we're attempting to achieve by way of our strategic goals, including one which was called Why Join Rotary? And it was a convincing 1-minute video on who can join and how you go about doing so and why you need to think about it. Our presence on social media has exploded. We have communications leads in each of the clubs here in Kingston. We share all of our feeds. And I think on a regular weekly basis, we're reaching out to somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,000 people through our social media channels. We've got the new central website I mentioned as well. And this enhanced media presence was going to be a key. And so between January and December of 2021, we had a new article in the local newspaper and also on the various online media companies every single week. Every single week we had a new Rotary article, a new Rotary story. And we heard so much great feedback from the community about this. I had no idea. Oh, you guys started that? That's incredible. And so many good stories getting out there. And so it's very clear to me that these days Rotary is a household name. Everybody knows about Rotary here in Kingston, and that was not the case prior to our centennial. But let's focus on membership, because that's what we're here to talk about mostly today. And so our strategic plan for increasing membership involved, as you can see, 5 key tenets. We wanted to embrace a new approach, develop a successful membership strategy, seek out new member types, improve the process of induction of new members, and because the two things go hand in hand, develop a great retention plan to engage our members and make sure that we weren't losing more than we were gaining, as we had been for the past 20 years. So, attracting new candidates to Rotary. I think like most clubs, we were very passive. We waited for people to come to us. And what we decided to do was to become proactive and to very aggressively recruit new folks to our teams. We wanted to engage everyone in our club and in the other Kingston Rotary clubs in the process of trying to bring new members into our clubs. And so we established a Kingston membership committee, and we've got a membership committee in our club as well. And so we wanted to get everybody in the club involved, and that was really successful. Whether that was reaching out to new members through breakout sessions in some of our meetings, becoming a mentor. As you can imagine, with 27 new Rotarians, we need a number of mentors in order to make that work well. As I say, we were advertising with documents like this on a regular basis. Our meetings became more dynamic than in the past. We had some wonderful speakers, from the RI president to the mayor, chief of police, Queen's professors. Every week there was a very interesting talk that was happening, and I think our meetings were better than ever. We also considered, because we had moved to online, we knew that with a different medium, you needed to set up your meetings in a different fashion. And so we thought very strategically about what our meetings should be and what they would look like and how they could be more dynamic. And so whenever a guest came to our meetings, they were so impressed that it often led to further discussions about joining our club. The other thing people were starving for were service opportunities. And so we have greatly increased the number of service opportunities and events that exist in our club. And so while we do have our regular meetings, every month we've got at least a couple of service opportunities that's taking place here in the city. It's very important to set specific membership goals and targets, and that was part of our success. And so one of the things I wanted to do was add 10 new female members to our club. That was one goal. We wanted to become one of the top clubs in our district for membership growth. We wanted to set the goal of reversing the pattern of declining membership, and so on, but very strategic goals specific to membership. We needed to get focused messaging out there as well in order to make it very clear what we're attempting to achieve. So we were using phrases like service above self, of course, engagement rather than attendance, to shift that, I guess that traditional practice that had existed, where we were measuring attendance as a key feature of what it meant to be a Rotarian. It's more about engagement now, we all know. So we got that message out. We also, a key message that we got out was build community. Rotary was involved in helping and partnering with other community organizations to help build community. The team effort was a huge part of it as well. So whether that's establishment of the Kingston Membership Committee or convincing lots of Rotarians to become mentors, getting everybody involved in membership components of our meetings that were happening with some regularity. We had to get everybody behind it. And those dynamic meetings, interestingly enough, got Rotarians excited about bringing friends to Rotary in a way that had not happened for many, many years. You can tap into all kinds of district and zone resources. And if your district is like ours, you may have seen a shift in the last couple of years. Rather than have your district tell us what to do, districts are now more inclined to support our efforts and reach out and ask questions about where we need help. And so there are lots of great resources. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to do this on your own. Reach out to your district and to the zone, and you will find there are lots of good folks out there with some great ideas on how to build your membership. And I think it's also important to target variety member types. So do a classification analysis. Which classifications are missing from your clubs? Reach out to some businesses or some individuals you might know who can help to fill those classifications. We have added corporate members. One of the other clubs in Kingston have added a category called Friends of Rotary, who don't pay dues, but come out and get involved. And typically within 2 years, they end up becoming members. But it's starting a gentler way to go about it. And look to your community organizations. Who are your partners? Why not reach out to them to see if one of the members in those organizations might join your club? Because we certainly found that they wanted to. So here are the new member types. So one of the classifications we felt that we were missing was somebody who was involved in publishing, somebody that could really help out with communication as well. And so we went out and found folks to fill those classifications, and it's paid tremendous dividends by getting them. So we have produced a book this year called Behind the Mask. And this was led by a publisher who became a new Rotarian. And this book was about this sort of heroic stories of folks who did wonderful things during the pandemic for our community It has sold very, very well, and we've already raised $25,000 because of it. So there's where a new classification has led to all kinds of great things. We had somebody who was heavily involved in fundraising in the community, who had recently retired from her job, and she is now the chair of she's our director of fundraising, and launched some very interesting new ideas to help kickstart our fundraising. But I want to emphasize for a moment here, community organizations. Every year we have something called the Community Outreach Grant. So about 30 community organizations will apply for grants, and a number of them will receive those grants. So you can imagine, having done this now for 5 years, we've developed relationships with all of these community organizations. Coincidentally, their boards of directors are telling them to do a better job of community outreach, and it's harder for them to raise funds as well and so to undertake their projects. And as a result, we added 9 community organizations to our membership pool. And in most cases, it was the executive director of those organizations who has joined it as Rotarian. They bring all kinds of skills and new ideas to our club. We added a new corporate member, a new startup company. There have been lots of new startup companies here in Kingston recently because our city council is doing a wonderful job of attracting businesses. And so we've been reaching out to corporations to say, you should consider a partnership with us. And here's what a corporate membership looks like. And I've already talked about Friends of Rotary. Making the induction special has also been a special part of the change that has led to, I think, a real wonderful feeling about bringing new members into our club. So typically it would start with, after somebody comes and maybe helps out at an event or a project or comes to a meeting, the person who brought them would then connect with me, and as president of the club, I would reach out and have a one-on-one with that person just to talk about Rotary a little bit and to pursue, what they were interested in and so on and so forth. But I think it was important for the president to reach out to potential candidates. It made it very clear that this was a very important thing for our club. We get them to do a bit of Rotary homework and find out what Rotary is all about, and to make sure that it's a good fit. In our orientation sessions, we have an open and frank discussion about responsibilities and privileges. Again, because we wanted them to come into Rotary with their eyes wide open, seeing how it was very clear that they were a good fit for Rotary. We sent out a notice to club members a week in advance with the new member's name and a little bit about them, and really try and generate some buzz about the new member. And then we would start off our meeting by inducting a new member. And between February 15th of 2021 and May 26th of 2021, we inducted a new member into our club each week. The other clubs were finding the same kind of experience. The Cat Club added 8 new members to their club. Each club added new members, a significant number of new members to the club. And then finally, you can't talk about growing without talking about retention. And many of us, I think we all probably have new members that join our club each year. But when you have more going out than you have coming in, of course, your membership's going to decline. And that's been the pattern, not only in our district, but in our zone, frankly. And so you have to look at new ways to try and engage members, particularly over those first 2 years. Find a very good mentor. Make sure it's a good fit. Give the mentor some guidance and instruction on the kinds of things that mentors can do. So the mentors themselves need support. They can't just do it on their own. We have fireside chats on a regular basis. And this is small groups of new members, along with their mentors and a couple of others, usually somebody from the membership committee. And the focus of those fireside chats is to have the veteran Rotarians tell their stories, why they joined Rotary, why they've stayed in Rotary. And in addition to that, answer some questions that the new members typically have. So touching base regularly with the new members to make sure that they're engaged, that they're getting their questions answered, that they're feeling connected to the club. In our online meetings, we took the opportunity to have breakout rooms where we would specifically have small groups reaching out to the new members. How's it going so far? What questions can we answer? And so on and so forth. So we made that a regular feature of our online meetings. We also provided lots of learning opportunities. So we'd have a Rotary moment where we tell them about RAGs, where we talk about the district or some particular component of the district. So each, every couple of meetings, they're learning about Rotary as they go. We have a member retention plan as well, a specific retention plan that each mentor has. They work through that retention plan with the new mentor over the course of that first year in order to increase their knowledge of Rotary and to feel particularly engaged. Lots of other engagement strategies along the way as well. Again, related mostly to things like service opportunities, boots on the ground, where you had a chance to meet them in person in a way that you don't on online meetings. And in the event that we lose somebody, we want to make sure we have exit interviews to make sure, was this something that we could have done differently that would have kept you in Rotary? And so while we added 19 new members last year, we also lost 7. 4 of those lost probably for good. 2 of them took a leave of absence. 1 joined one of the other Kingston clubs, so it was just an internal shift. But still, when you lose 4 people permanently, it hurts. And so we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that it's not something we did. It's something about their job. They're changing cities, or they lost their job, which happened in 2 of those cases. And so exit interviews are part of the strategy as well. And typically I would move to questions and answers, but I think I'll stop sharing now, and I will hand it back to you guys and to proceed with the morning's festivities.
Thank you, Paul. I believe that we have, so everyone is going to have a chance to ask Paul questions in our breakout sessions. Unless there's a burning, I know in the chat I saw 1 or 2 questions. Do we want to pose those now, Joan, Sue, or shall we ask Tina to thank Paul and then go to breakout?
I would suggest Tina thank Paul and we can go to breakout. And if those questions don't get answered, I've recorded them. We can talk later at the end.
Okay, perfect.
Tina, it's up to you.
Well, okay. Well, what can I say? Thank you, Paul, for attending this morning and sharing your time and your wealth of knowledge. I think I have 6 pages of notes. You're able to really, I think, motivate us all. And I think you've just started a club, just a chain reaction for us to increase our club membership. There's so many good ideas you presented to us, not just for club retention, club membership, but also some of the activities you've done in Kingston. So thank you so much.
All right. Yay. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And as I said, I will pass along probably to Sue some of the resources that go along with our efforts so that you can use those too if you so desire. Lots of different resources that we've produced.
Yeah, I would say certainly some of that mentoring and engagement activities would be extremely useful. So thank you. All right. Joan, Susan, take it away.
Okay, very quickly. Now we have an opportunity for some smaller group discussion. Bob is going to work his magic and divide participants into 3 breakout rooms, and participants will stay in those breakout rooms for the duration of the morning. And I think, Bob, maybe 14 minutes a room, 14, 15, I think whatever works best, minutes a room. One of the rooms will be a Q&A with Paul, and thank you, Joan, for being there to help facilitate as well. One of the rooms will talk about steps to the clubs that our clubs are taking or could take to grow and maintain membership. And Virginia, thank you for facilitating that. And then one of the rooms for new members Opportunities, as we talk about new member engagement. So opportunities for new members to present new ideas, programs, etc., but also for current members. So all the ways that we can make people feel welcome and that their voice is valued and heard. And Lars, thank you for facilitating that. And we would ask that we're facilitators, either yourself or ask somebody, just to jot down any salient points or part of the discussion that we might want to share later, and we'll get those notes to Virginia to share with the whole group after. When we come back, we are going to very briefly do a whiteboard, because everybody will have been had the same sessions, although the discussion will look different. It'll just be a very random, very fast, not reporting by groups, but just through the chat or hands up, just some of the salient points that came out of the morning, and I'll record them on the whiteboard. And then Virginia will work her magic, Virginia or Bob, I'm not sure, and take a snap to make sure that people get that information after. So right now, 3 groups, 3 breakouts. Facilitators will move after, I guess, 14 minutes or 15 minutes. Participants will stay in the same breakout. So it's the facilitators that are moving as opposed to the participants. So Bob, I'll hand it over to you. Can I just
have
see
something in the chat already for you, Sue. Terry has her #1 takeaway from Paul: more clubs in the community. The more your club is in the community, the more your community wants to engage with that part of the club. So club visible in the community. How's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that echoed in all the sessions that I heard as well, is just that community involvement leads to visibility and is a real, it certainly was a big point, a big part of, people felt it was a big part of the success in Kingston.
Okay.
Another one in the chat: ask members what can we do to get them more engaged or involved. And that's from Tina.
Okay, so the idea then is we get the members to tell us some ideas.
That's right.
Is that right, Tina? Okay, others, just yell out. You're a quiet group today.
They're all cold.
It's -22 here. And it's warmed up.
Okay, my furnace isn't working, so it's really cold here.
Yes, she's frozen.
It's been turned off since last night. So
My
it's cold.
computer-
Get publicity.
Get
Oh,
publicity.
Get
Yeah,
publicity.
thank you.
You got to do stuff,
Thanks,
but then
Joe.
you got to tell people you're doing it. So get publicity.
How do we get these videos that were referred to in the presentation, these 1-minute videos and things that maybe we can, how could they be made available?
Yeah, I'm going to send them along with the other resources.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. I think just to give you some other things, I will actually type all the ideas that I heard and share them as well. But a couple of interesting ideas were just when you're out doing projects, people ask questions and say, who are you? What are you doing? And you get a chance to tell them about Rotary. And in a number of cases, that's how clubs got new members. And it sounds like that's how Paul got people involved as well.
and we have some more popping up in the chat. Publicize your achievements and projects.
And wear Rotary clothing when
Yes.
you're out
Yes.
there.
Virginia borrowed mine.
Got it
And-
on. I
and-
got it on.
Signs and banners as well as clothing.
That's right. Yeah. Port Hope has got some great banners.
Another one coming in: formalize the mentorship buddy program.
And yeah, not only just formalize it, but I also heard let people know it's important, but also make sure they know, like, just don't say, Joan, you're a mentor. Like, make sure that Joan knows what, like, some of the jobs of a mentor, or, you know, at least a little list of do this, 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 and this to help people. And to add to that, a Rotary moment in meetings, maybe not every meeting, but every second meeting, so that new members know, that new members start to know things about Rotary.
Also find partnerships from corporations, or go looking for them, find them. And
Go.
Sorry?
Joan, we all know doctors, we all know lawyers, we all know plumbers, we all know electricians, we all know police officer. So simply just ask. This is what we do at our club, the Aging Corps Club. Our motto is just ask.
Excellent.
What a great idea. Ask somebody to join Rotary.
Right?
And you know what?
Very simple.
I think one of the best classifications I've seen in a long time is whiskey sommelier.
Yeah.
There's a new fundraiser for you too.
That's right. Another one is to give new members responsibilities right off the bat. Get them involved, in other words.
But don't get them involved in too much too quickly.
Correct.
That's an excellent point, because I think it might have been somebody, and it might be Basil, who pointed out, be very careful of asking new members to do too much too quickly, and particularly the trap of, you've been a member for 2 years and you haven't been president yet. How about you? So, people need to be comfortable. They need to know Rotary and get to know Rotary, and how to make Rotary their own. I think is probably part of it, so that they can share it with others. What? One.
Also, sorry. I was just going to say, in the chat, they're talking about corporate membership with question mark. I think that's alluding to a different look at what a corporate membership looks like.
Yeah.
That right?
What does
That
it
would
look
work.
like?
Yeah. Might not be the old thought of corporate membership that we used to think about.
We've got about 2 more minutes.
Okay. Important to find out with new members as soon as possible what they want to be involved in. What's their passion, as Paul called it.
If I could interrupt, sorry, I've just come off of a district conference meeting, and one of the things that we were really keen on, and we talked about Paul this morning and about membership, and I said, I'm missing this membership meeting, and then can we close up and so I can get on it. But anyways, if you could all just think of what you would like to hear at the district conference for membership and speakers, and we mentioned, as I say, we mentioned Paul's name, so if we could get some feedback, we would be really grateful. And I love to hear the diversity, and I guess I was listening to Nylam speak. So please just feed us what you'd like to see at the district conference. Membership will be right up there in front. So thank you.
Linda, can I suggest to you, just in the past week or so, and Sue was at this particular meeting, the Zone has produced a great segment that looks at the 5 key attributes of clubs who have had great membership success in the past year. And I think you can reach out to your Zone folks, and they may well be able to come to your district conference and talk membership. Sorry, folks, I got to go. I've got a foundation mini session in my own district. So thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Another comment in the chat line is create a sense of belonging. And I think that's important, because that was something that didn't happen to me when I first joined Rotary. Create a sense of belonging.
I will add one point for attracting members, and that came from Linda Rainey and their club. Monthly walks, which they publicized in social media, and it was an open invitation. Come on out for our hike. And they actually had people come out and got some members that way. Great way to talk about Rotary when you're walking along, Socially distanced they were, but there you go.
I think
cooperation between clubs.
Sorry, Lars, go.
Cooperation between clubs, whether it's in Toronto clubs, or Will suggested that out in the countryside.
I thought that whole idea of a joint membership committee that from clubs that are close by each other, what a way to leverage ideas.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Have I lost things? Oh,
No, I think you got them also.
no. Okay. Okay, it is, it's 5 after 11 or 6 after 11, Virginia, so.
Okay, so I have, I'm going to put one person on the spot here.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who showed up. This is fabulous. I hope you felt it was worthwhile. And please, if you've got any comments, positive, constructive, whatever, let us know, because it helps us fine tune other sessions. One of these days we'll be able to have some of these in person, hopefully. And so I'm going to put our district governor, Ron Dick, on the spot and just ask him to end our meeting.
Well, thanks, Virginia. It was great to hear all the great ideas, not just from Paul, but one of the things that I've noticed going around the district is that all the good things that Paul mentioned, there's at least one club in our district doing those things. So while it's really important sometimes to have a different voice to listen to, be sure to get out to those regional presidents calls, be sure to get out to those joint meetings and activities and share with each other so that we can take advantage of the great ideas that are going on right next door. But it was great to have Paul highlight those, like the 1-minute videos that I see the Rotary Club of Toronto doing, the incredible outreach that I see going on all year long at Whitby Sunrise that they talked about this morning. And I could go on and on about each and every one of your clubs. Keep up the good work. Stay in touch with each other, help each other, keep talking to each other. And Virginia, thank you very much for pulling together a great Zoom meeting to help us do Zoom better.
Okay, thank you. But I will have to give the credit to Joan and to Susan. And to all the other committee members that helped out today. So thanks very much.